Hi students, in this video I'll be going through some questions to recap about the solving of trigonometric equations. So I'll first go through some basic questions, then I'll end off with an O-level question. Right, so let's take a look at the first question. So in the first question, we are asked to solve sine x equals to -1/5 for values of x that are between greater or equals to 0 and less than or equals to 360 degrees. Right, so for the solving of the trigo equations, what we always need to do first is to find the basic angle. So since the basic angle is always less than 90 degrees, so instead of the change that we will need to do, so alpha over here is the basic angle. If over here is given as -1/5, we will always change it to the positive. So sine of alpha will always be equals to a positive number, right? So then we will go ahead and find the basic angle. So we will do sine inverse 1/5. So that will give us the basic angle to be 11.54 degrees. So basic angle we always write to 2 decimal place, one more than the final answer, which should be in 1 decimal place. Okay, then the next thing to do is to go back to the original question and look over here. So the sign is negative, right? Sin x is negative. So we will this will help us to decide which quadrants we need to search the angles for. Okay, so if you recall A, S, E, C. So sign is negative in P and C, okay? In A and S, sign will be positive. So this means that for this question, in order to find x, we will search in the third and fourth quadrant. So the basic angle is over here. So this is alpha. So the first answer that we will get will be 180 plus alpha, right? So the first x that we will get will be 180 plus 11.54, right? Okay, then the second one would be in the fourth quadrant. So the basic angle is always drawn from the x-axis to the line stopping the angle. So now the basic angle is here. So the second answer for x will be over here. Okay, so this one is x and this one is x. So the second x will be 360 minus 11.54 degrees. Right, so the answer would be 191.5. And then the second answer would be 348.5 degrees. All right, so these are the two answers. Okay, if you want to check whether answer is correct, you can always sub these two values inside this over here, and then you use your calculator to calculate out and see if you get -1/5. You won't be able to get exactly -1/5, but answer will be very, very close to -1/5, okay, because actually these answers have been rounded off to 1 decimal place, right? Okay, let's move on to the second question. So the second question, we are asked to solve tangent half x equals to square root 3. Now the range, the values of x that we need to find is in radians. How do we know in radians? Because the range given is in radians. Okay, so over here you can see that the angle is not x, right? It's half x. So if the angle is not x, what you need to do is you need to adjust the range first. So the range is original range for x is from 0 to 4 pi. But now the angle that we have over here in the question is half x. So half of 0 is still 0, but half of 4 pi will be 2 pi. So in other words, 2 pi is 360, so we are still searching one full round, right? Okay, so remember the first thing that we want to do, okay, besides adjusting the range is to find the basic angle. Okay, square root 3 is a special ratio for tangent. Okay, so if you recall, square root 3 will be equals to 60. Tangent 60 degree will give you square root 3. Okay, so 60 degrees in radian form will be pi over 3. So the basic angle will be pi over 3. So as much as possible, you need to remember the special ratios and special angles and give your answers in terms of pi whenever necessary, right? Okay, so now tangent, you look over here, this over here is positive, right? So tangent is positive, so we want to search in the first and third quadrant, ASTC, all right? So first and third. Okay, so first quadrant, the angle will just be, remember the angle now is half x, will just be equals to the basic angle. In the third quadrant, it will be 180 plus the basic angle, but now we are working in terms of radians, right? Okay, so the basic angle is over here in the third quadrant. Okay, so this one would be pi over 3. So the third quadrant will be over here. So pi plus pi over 3. So From here to here will be pi. Then you add another pi over 3. So pi plus pi over 3. Right, so here will be pi over 3. And then over here will be 4 pi over 3. Okay, pi is 3 pi over 3, right? So add to pi over 3, get 4 pi over 3. Okay, but this is not the final answer. You need to multiply by 2 to get x. So you get 2 pi over 3 and 8 pi over 3. Okay, so these are the answers for this question, right? Okay, let's take a look at the next question. Okay, so the next one is they want you to solve cotangent 1/3 x minus 15 degree equals to 1.4. Alright, so first adjust the range. Okay, now the range is the value here is the angle here is not just x, right? So we adjust the range. So for this one, we need to do it in 2 steps. Okay, so the first one is sorry, over here should be x, huh? Okay, over here is x. Okay, 1/3 x, we will multiply first. So 1/3 times 0 is still 0, but 1/3 times 360 will be 120. Okay, then 1/3 x minus 15 degrees. So the over here will be negative 15 and over here will be 105 degrees. Okay, so if you think about the quadrants, the angle in the quadrant, right? Negative 15 is just in this direction. Remember, if it's negative angle, you go in this direction. Okay, then 105 will just be somewhere around here. Okay, 90 plus another 15. Okay, so that means you are just searching within this small range over here, from here to here. Okay, just a bit in the fourth quadrant, a bit in the second quadrant, and the whole of the first quadrant only. Right, so this is cotangent. So remember cotangent, your calculator cannot compute cotangent, so we change it to tangent. So the relationship between cotangent and tangent is cotangent is 1 over tangent. Okay, so 1/3 x minus 15 degrees will be 1.4. Okay, 1.4 I'll change to 5 over 7, right? Okay, then after that, so if 1 over tangent is 7 over 5, then tangent 1/3 x minus 15 degrees will be 5 over 7. Okay, then same thing, we find the basic angle. Okay, so tangent inverse 5 over 7, you should be able to get the basic angle to be 35.54 degrees. Okay, now tangent is positive, so we will search in the first and third quadrant. But if you look at your diagram, basically we only want to search from here, okay, this point, this side to this side only, okay, within this small range. So in other words, for this question, you only get one answer because there's in the third quadrant, right, is outside our range already. All right. So remember the angle you want to find is 1/3 x minus 15. Okay. Okay, so it will just be the first quadrant answer. Okay, then you just have to manipulate this to find x. So 1/3 x. So we bring the 15 over, then you times 3. Okay, so 1/3 x will be 50.54. And then x will be 3 times of that. So 151.6 degrees. So this will be 1 decimal place. Alright, so this is how you solve FICO questions like this. So I've shown you 3 variations already over here. Okay, the first variation is the angle is just x. Okay, so you can directly find the basic angle and then find x. Okay, but if the angle is not x, you always need to adjust the range first, right? So if it's like this one, okay, slightly more complicated, 1/3 x minus 15, then you need to adjust the range in 2 steps. And then after that, find the basic angle and then find the angles in the necessary quadrants that are still within range. Okay, that's why we don't take the third quadrant because the third quadrant is outside the range. We're only searching within this small range only, right, for this question. Okay, let's end off by looking at the 2020 AMF O-level paper 1 question 7. Okay, so over here we are asked to solve this equation 3 cosine A equals to secant A minus 5 tangent A, and for values of A that's greater than 0 and less than 360. So you can see here over here this question is a 7-mark question. Okay, but in O level it doesn't mean that if the question has a lot of marks assigned to it, that means it's going to be a very difficult question. So whenever you see a trigo equation question, the first thing that you need to think about is how can you simplify it such that the whole equation will only consist of one type of trigo function only. Okay, so over here, let's begin. We have a 3 cosine A on the left side. We have a secant A. We have a minus 5 tangent A. Okay, so are we able to express secant in terms of maybe sine or cosine, and then we move on from there? Okay, so if you think about it, there's nothing else much we can do, right, to proceed because we can't use identities. So most of the identities involve square, right, term with squares, but now here all the terms don't have squares. So one of the things that you can think of doing is to change secant A to cosine A. And why would I think about doing that? Because I can also change to tangent, change tangent to sine A over cosine A. And now both the denominators have cosine A already. Alright. Okay, then what we can do is we can multiply by cosine throughout. So everything multiplied by cosine, and that will allow me to get rid of all the denominators okay, on the right side. So down here will become 3 cosine squared A. Here will become 1. Here will become minus 5 sine A. Right, then now you have square already, right? So once you have square, are we able to think about identities? Yeah, so we can think of this already, right? Sine squared A plus cosine squared A equals to 1. So cosine squared A will be 1 minus sine squared A. And this will allow us to convert everything to be in terms of just sine A, right? Alright. So 1 minus sine squared A equals to 1 minus 5 sine A. Okay, so over here you will get 3 minus 3 sine squared A equals to 1 minus 5 sine A. Okay, so we'll shift everything to the right side, okay, to make the left side 0. So you'll get 3 sine squared A minus 5 sine A. 1 minus 3, you get negative 2. Okay, but then I will write it on the left side. Okay, then at this point, if you can factorize directly, you can factorize directly. But if you want to introduce a substitution, like let's say let x equals to sine A, okay, you can also do that, all right? So we should always end up with a quadratic, okay, most of the time. And then all we need to do is factorize the quadratic and then replace back the sine A, the x with sine A, and then we can just solve already, right? So over here, if we factorize this one is easy to factorize. Okay, so over here we'll get minus 2 plus 1. So either 3x plus 1 is 0 or x minus 2 equals to 0. Okay, so here you'll get 3x equals to negative 1/3. Sorry, x equals to negative 1/3. Here you get x equals to 2. Okay, now we replace back with sine A. You realize that this second equation on the right side, you will not be able to get any solution because sine is O over H. O can never be longer than H, so sine A can never be greater than 1. Okay, so over here you have no solution. Okay, then from here you replace sine A with negative 1/3. Okay, so same thing, just go find the basic angle. So sine alpha is 1/3. So basic angle will be 19.47. Right, then after that, sine is sine is negative, right? So if sine is negative, then we will go for the third and the fourth quadrant. And the range is from 0 to 360, right? So A will be, okay, so remember sine negative, we are going for the third and fourth quadrant. So third quadrant is here. And then the fourth quadrant will just be 360 minus 19.47. Right, so you'll get 199.5 and then 340.5 degrees. So 1 decimal place. Right, so you can see, although it's a 7-mark question, but it's not too difficult. So remember, what you want to do is you want to express everything in terms of one type of trigo ratio. So in this case, this question can be expressed in terms of just sine A only. Okay, and then after that, you should always end up with a quadratic. I won't say all the time, but most of the time you end up with quadratic. Factorize, then you will get 2 equations, and then you just solve both equations. If the equation cannot be solved, then you just write out no solution. Right, so I hope that this video has been able to help you to recap a bit about solving trigo equations. So it's really not that difficult. Okay, so do more practice questions and you will be able to master the concept. Right.